Gen Con is just a few weeks behind us, but Ryan was traveling. I got COVID. We are here to tell you, though, today what some of our biggest surprises of the show were.
Yeah.
In fact, we've got 5 of the biggest surprises. Now, these aren't going to include a lot of games that came out at the show because we knew a lot about the games that were going to be released there. But it's going to include some future games that we learned about at the show. And oddly enough, it's going to include some games that we hadn't played that came out before the show that we just had experienced for the first time.
That's kind of our whole thing here is we already talked about what we were excited about, and we're not breaking down the biggest hits of Gen Con.
No.
This is a very personal experience of like what we saw, what we got our hands on that we didn't know about, or even stuff that we did know about, a game that I was already excited about, that I got to get hands-on with, that I'm even more excited about.
Yeah, these are all incredibly exciting nonetheless. We do have 3 honorable mentions really quick. I wanted to mention this really quick. Whoa. It's falling apart.
Don't tell anybody.
It was a handmade trophy that my wife Alicia won at the Strike tournament. This is the rolling dice and taking names thing they do every year, Thursday night, Old Spaghetti Factory. If you haven't gone, check it out next year. But they play Strike and they whittle it down. There are people who are on Team Gladiators in an Arena. They take the game very seriously. And there's Team Diceable.
Yeah.
I'm Team Diceable.
I'm Team Diceable too.
Alicia is Team Gladiators in an Arena, and she was the last representative of that side. She didn't win the whole tournament, but she was the last of the gladiators in an arena.
The last gladiator standing.
And she got this. At least, I don't know if we have to give this back next year or not, but she got this.
Cool.
It is very cool. This was handmade by one of the listeners of Rolling Dice and Taking Names. Very cool trophy. Alicia was very excited. I'll handle it with a little bit more care.
Yep.
The other honorable mention, I'll just double these up. These 2 card games. I can't remember if we mentioned now on the channel pre-Gen Con, because we did get this pre-Gen Con, played it, had a lot of fun with it. This one is from Scorpion Masqué. This one, Flip 7, is from the Op. Both of these games, a lot of people were playing these during the con. I played this one a lot with people, introducing it to them, because this was sort of my pick for card game of the show. Now, I do know of some other card games I didn't get a chance to play that I know everyone has been raving about, one of which is called The Gang from Cosmos, I think.
Yeah, there's a ton. Like I was going to say, we get to play games at Gen Con, but I always kind of like to relax with these card games. We played a ton of Flip 7. We played a ton of Things in Rings, which is kind of a card game we played now. And shameless plug, we had a huge meetup at Gen Con, which was a lot of fun. And we got to bring out a lot of those card games. A lot of those tables were playing those card games.
Yeah,
that gang looked awesome.
Those hits, those kind of games are great for an event like that. But the first game I played, I think, the first official game I think I'd play of Gen Con.
Was Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning, we had a clandestine meeting at a hotel. Not really. But Alex from Board Game Co. and Meg were there. Yep. Jeremy joined me. Emily was there with me, I believe. Yes, I think. Maybe. Maybe not. No, Emily wasn't there with me. But Jeremy and I were there. Oh, you know what? Who was there? It was Johannes and Sunniva.
Oh, yeah.
Also, a great surprise. I was able to hang out and spend some time with Johannes and Sunniva. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, we'll just do
Gen Con's such a whirlwind.
We're going to do a top 5 favorite people you saw at Gen Con?
We had a chance. No, I don't want to make any enemies. We had a chance to play this. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to have more content on this soon, so I won't go overboard right now. But what I do want to tell you, I'm not going to bury the headline. This is going to be what I embrace in the content that we do too. I was incredibly skeptical about this. It's from the people who go on board and the designer of The Witcher Old World, which if you watch the channel, you know I'm a fan. I said to him right before we played, I said, I'm a little skeptical. I heard there was a timed aspect to it.
Almost like a real time.
It's not
really real time, but there's a timer.
That is something I want to make sure you understand. There is a timer in your rounds, so it's cooperative, but as you go around the table, you're taking your turns, but you're all on the same timer. I was very skeptical of that. I will just tell you, I came out of the demo 110% sold on the timer.
Yeah, I mean, it simulates that pressure.
Well, not only simulates the pressure, but without the timer, the game would slog down to a
Sure,
crawl because everyone would be really, really thinking
And I
about
think that's
every
the thing
little
about
thing.
a game like that. Yeah, you want to, you feel the need to plan out because it's cooperative. So you
Yeah.
really feel like, and we've talked about this in other cooperative games. You can sit there for 20 minutes and say, "Well, if you do this, and then they do this, and then they do this."
Yeah,
then
and you wouldn't want to
just-
do that.
You can't do that.
You'd have to
Yeah.
resist the urge to do that in this game, and the timer makes it so you can't.
Yeah.
Super fun. I have to say, Lucas is off to a great start with it, Witcher Old World and this. and
Well,
Path
and
of
the other,
Destiny.
Path of Destiny. I mean, I'm at a point where I will play anything that they do.
The next thing I played was that night. This got played at our event as well.
Yep.
But that night, Wednesday night, there was a number of publisher events. In fact,
Oh my gosh,
at
more
least,
than you could even go
At least 4 or more. Side note, I started that night on a pickle peddler.
to. Oh yeah, I saw your.
I
that looked like fun.
I drove around Indy on a pickle peddler. Grant Lyon has a game called I'm Kind of a Big Dill.
Yeah.
We played it while on the pickle peddler, drinking and eating pickles and all sorts of things. Anyway, after that were all these publisher parties, one of which was a Hachette party. And Seaside is a game, like we said off the top, it didn't come out at Gen Con. I think it's been out since spring of this year. I think it was even before Origins.
Yeah.
I had not played
I
it.
hadn't either. I hadn't even heard of it.
And Hachette had a really good setup in terms of like promoting the demos of their games. They had all these tables up. It wasn't really as much of a mingler, although they had a bar back there.
All right.
But we got to sit down and play games. I sat down and played Seaside. This game is so much fun, and the most brilliant thing about it, here's the setup.
Yeah,
That's the setup. You get this bag of wooden tokens. I'm going to show you the wooden tokens really quick.
it's super easy to teach too.
And yeah, it's incredibly easy to teach. You're just pulling a token out of the bag, and each token has 2 different things, one on each side, and you're choosing what to do. Some of them allow you to take actions. Some of them allow you to just add it to the pool in the center of the table. The object of the game is that once all the tokens are taken, you have to have the most. That's it. And it sounds simple, but there's a lot more to the game. It's really, really fun. And then Teardown is just putting all the tokens back in the bag.
No,
The end.
it's great.
It is, I have to say,
You could bring that anywhere too.
you can play it anywhere. They even suggest you could play it on the beach in the
Yeah,
sand.
this is perfect for that.
I mean, I don't know that I would still ever do that. I don't even like being in the sand, but you could play this anywhere, and I was really taken with how fun it was. I was really surprised.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going in chronological
We
order.
aren't going in
games
chronological
that
order,
we
but
played.
we'll save that one for last.
I want to talk about, this is the one I was referring to earlier, was the Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth.
Oh,
This
yeah.
was a game I was already excited about this pre-Gen Con going into it.
But it was pretty much revealed there.
It was revealed. They actually had it. You could get hands-on with it. You could see it. And the reason that this kind of blew me away, or the reason that this intrigued me so much, is I'm already a big fan of Seven Wonders Duel.
Yeah.
If this was a reskin of Seven Wonders Duel, which is what they said it was, they said this is Seven Wonders Duel but set in Lord of the Rings, I was already sold. But then getting there and seeing it and recognizing that it is Seven Wonders Duel with another layer on top is pretty cool. There is a world map now that you're actually moving your pieces around to control different areas. And so this is kind of in place of the combat. One of the things you're doing to win the game is controlling that whole world map. You control the whole world map, you win the game. So that's another...
the whole world.
Yeah, if you have a presence, I think, even in everywhere.
Oh,
so
okay.
there is conflict. You're going to be fighting each other. So combat is not just the abstract thing that it was in previous Seven Wonders games.
It's tied to controlling these areas.
It's tied to controlling these areas. And there's a cool Hunt for the Ring track where Frodo and company are trying to get the ring to Mount Doom, and you are playing as the Nazgul riders coming and trying to stop them.
Yeah, so asymmetric.
So asymmetric there. If they get to the end, they win. If you manage to capture them, you win. That's another in-game condition.
and I saw
which is
some
really
pictures
cool.
of that. That's like clear plastic
It
overlay
is. It's
type
very
thing.
cool looking. All the components are really cool. And then also they've kind of taken a lot of the things that you'd expect. It's not resources anymore. It's skills. You're learning skills. The chaining system is still there. They had the science, the set collection now represents different alliances with different famous factions in Lord of the Rings. So for somebody that's a Lord of the Rings fan and a Seven Wonders Duel fan, this was already a no-brainer. But getting to actually see the love that they put into the game, this is everything I could hope for and more, and I really wanted to take that one home with us.
Yeah,
but
we could not.
We couldn't. We will definitely
We will
be
get a
covering
copy
it for
eventually,
sure.
and we will be covering it. I can't imagine anyone who owns Seven Wonders Duel and loves it wouldn't also want this, even if you're not like a giant Lord of the Rings fan. Then on top of that, if you don't happen to have Seven Wonders Duel, but you're a Lord of the Rings
gosh.
fan, maybe it gets some more people into that Seven Wonders Duel.
Just like you said, the artwork,
scene.
the presentation, everything is just, it's phenomenal. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, it looks really cool. The last one of, not the last one, but the next one of our 5 we want to talk about is another one we don't have with us anymore. We did have a copy of it. In fact, we've done content on the channel already for it. But the surprise was what a big hit it was at our event. On Saturday night, we had this community event. We had, I don't know, a little over 100 people there, mixed from people in our community, people from the industry. Had a giant giveaway. Yes, I'm plugging for next year. If you're at Gen Con, sign up, get tickets to come to our event. It was awesome. But people were playing Emerald Skulls. We had a couple copies. In fact, we were fortunate enough to have some people from Thunderworks who were kind enough to basically set it up on some tables, oversee some games, teach it to some people. But the tables that were playing it, and we're having a blast. And we've played it at 2-player, and it was fine.
I was going to mention
at
that.
Higher player count, that's what the surprise was. These tables had the biggest outbursts going on.
I mean, it was crazy.
You were at one of them.
I was. I enjoyed getting to play it as 2. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I did get to. Because playing it at 2 was fun. And I was like, okay, I like that push your luck element. Even in the 2-player game, but playing it, we played a full, I think it was 6 players. Yeah.
You had the most players you could have.
We had the max players, which was 6 players, and it brings a whole new level to the game.
Well, it's like being at a craps table.
It really is. Everyone's hovering around watching them, because you're placing those bets. If you didn't watch our live stream, you're placing bets in real time on what you think the roller is going to do. And so the roller is, they're trying to get the most points for themselves, but they're also like, they might stop early just so, So there's this whole thing of like timing your bets, but then whoever bets first gets the most points if that bet pays out. There was a lot of times when we you're talking to the dealer, just like you're like, you go for it. Like, I want you to go for it, because if you bust, I get a ton of points. So I'm like, go. Yeah. And then of course, they get it, and then you're really upset with yourself.
Yeah, the outbursts at those tables were phenomenal. And I would say, if you're a game designer out there, try to bake into a game, especially if you're doing a party game, the idea of dice being rolled and everyone at the table being interested.
I mean, you are. Every single player, there's really no downtime, because you're either rolling or you're betting. And if you're betting, you're maybe even more invested in what everybody's doing than when you're just rolling. Like, rolling is a puzzle of like, okay, how can I get the most points? Like, what am I going for? But betting is like watching everyone at the table. Look, you're going for that or this.
It brings in, it's not quite as chaotic and crazy as Ready, Set, Bet.
Oh, sure.
But it brings a bit of those vibes to the table for sure. The last one we want to talk about, we did not demo at Gen Con, but they were demoing Minos at Gen Con. And Alicia, Emily, and I had a chance to play it over this past weekend. And boy, were we surprised. This is... we're going to play it some more. We're going to have some content for sure. Emily and I will probably do a deep dive review of this. Ryan still hasn't got a chance to play it yet.
I'm dying.
He's hearing me talk it up.
It's one of my favorite designers too. So.
I'll say right now, I think it's Stan Kordonsky's best game. This game is so rewarding on your turns, with a lot going on. It has some of the deepest dice drafting, dice placement that you've ever seen in a game. The number of variables that are going in your head as you select which dice you want to draft, which is at the beginning of every round, let alone then placing them on the actions that you want to take, the colors of the dice, the values of the dice, all these things going on in your head. Keeping dice from another player who might be able to utilize it. There's definitely some hate drafting going on, and so much more in this game. We will have some content on it, but I just wanted to mention it. It is
amazing table pleasant.
Amazing. It's a beautiful looking game. It's probably one thing to spoil our content. It's a little on the. It's a longer game.
Sure.
I'm not going to say it's too long, but our game, I'll save that for the content for sure. Our first game took a minute, but none of us felt like it did. Like I've said in the past, Alicia and I, our first game of Ark Nova at 2 players was over 4 hours, which is crazy. But I've seen so many first games of Ark Nova go over 4 hours.
Our first games of Ark Nova went over 4 hours. Now they're down to like 2.
Yeah, you can get them down, and I'm sure we'll be able to get this one down too. But boy, the amount of rewards that it gives you every turn, and the way it makes you feel, like it's just built and designed to make players feel smart at what they're doing.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun with it. But those are I don't know, five to 10 things that we thought were the biggest surprises.
Not to mention there was a lot of games announced at Gen Con that we don't really know anything about, so we can't really like dive into them. But there were a ton of they announced a new Dune expansion.
Yeah, Bloodlines, right?
Yeah, there was the new King Arthur game from WizKids. I mean, there was so many cool announcements. Maybe we could do a whole other video just talking about announcements.
The rest of the year, we're just going to do more surprises from Gen Con.
But Gen Con's always a great place to go to see what's coming. And I love when I walk into Gen Con and walk out with something that I was not expecting. Like,
for sure.
Like Cyberpunk or even Minos. It's great to have those moments.
Well, it's nice, too, to just have an event, not only Gen Con, but like our community event, that kind of puts you in a situation where you're like, someone says, hey, do you want to play this game? Like someone at the Hachette event said, hey, try Seaside. I said, okay, what the heck? I sat
that's
down.
what I'm here for.
And then I found and experienced what ended up being one of my favorite games of the week.
That's awesome.
It just was that much fun to play. But anyway, that was our biggest surprises, 5, whatever the number is, at Gen Con 2024. If you have any questions about them, or if you had some surprises at Gen Con, if you were there, if you weren't there, and you're like, I want to be surprised, tell me more. Join us in the comments below, or join us over on our Discord and talk about it there. Until next time, though, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.